I mean, this has got to be a big deal. I mean, we're seeing all the deal makers out in person for the first time, getting to press the flesh here. Is this a conference about deals? Is it about ideas? What are you getting out of this?
I think this is reflecting the global moment we're in, where there's an intersection of people, ideas, and commercial opportunities like no other. And it really feels like this is the epicenter right now.
Talk to us about the commercial opportunities, because what we're hearing at the moment is the concerns, supply chains, inflation, but the innovations that can build off that. Is that the commercial opportunity right now?
Absolutely. I think everyone's talking about this being an economy in transition and the need for an incredible amount of capital, but there are great ideas to use that capital for. And there's a lot of optimism underneath some of the short-term pessimism.
And it's even more than just transition. A lot of people really see that at some point in history, we'll look back at this as a real inflection point coming out of the COVID crisis, whether it's sort of the strides made with working from home and just the technology behind that, or even in some of the renewable energy space and the fact that everyone's now shopping for EVs here. When you go back, I mean, it's serious, when we get back to a point where we look at this 20 years from now and the capital flow that's needed to fund that, is this that point? Is this that moment?
I think it's a moment where like governments and society and the business communities are actually coming together. So I come out of this with the optimism that we're going to make the big, bold investments for the future. And it feels like both private and public capital that's walking around here is committed to doing that.
What do you need from the administration? What do you need from global administration to ensure that amid some of the concerns, we still stick to unlocking capital, to investing?
Yeah, I think it's really going to come down to a regulatory environment that takes intelligent risk. We just need to promote risk-taking in our business community and in private capital, and then also make bold bets in public capital, which I think a global administrative cohesion could actually do.
Do you think that that balance is there right now?
I think it's getting there, but frankly, right now it feels inconsistent wherever you speak in the world and also whom you speak to. So I'd really like to see this fall come through our US budget and then see what knock-on effects that has elsewhere in the world.
What about also the savings that are pent up from a consumer perspective? We're talking, what, $2.5 trillion worldwide. We're talking $1.5 trillion here in the United States. Does that speak optimism, glass half full? Does that speak, we're not unleashing the capital we could be doing into the economy right now?
Well, a lot of it's getting spent, and hence some of the supply chain issues we're facing. But I really think this is a great moment for financial inclusion. People who didn't save suddenly have a little bit of money, and then some very wealthy people have become very, very wealthy. But for those who are not, can we use this as a moment to make savings and investment a regular part of a broader part of our society? And I think that's a really great moment, again, structural moment for us right now.
Let's talk about the higher end of that wealth ladder here and the amount of cash that people want to put to use or need to put to use in some cases. You can't necessarily do the traditional investment strategy, at least if you want higher returns here. So that's pushed people into some riskier areas of the market. It's paid off so far.
It has, and I think people are taking bolder and bigger bets. But one of the great things is, I think, the normalization of private markets. So we're now seeing private market institutions investing at scale around the world and across the board, from technology to healthcare to core infrastructure. And it's creating more and more capacity for all of us, wealthy or not, to invest and be a part of that growth.
It sounds as though almost financial inclusion is something you're thinking of a lot. What other areas are you, as Chief Growth Officer, thinking that BNY needs to be in there at the moment? I mean, we're talking crypto, we're talking renewables, sustainability. There's a lot of buzzwords there, but what really are you making inroads into?
So we think of ourselves as a platform for others. So here in the US, it's really about making health savings accounts and retirement accounts a part of everyday life. So helping our institutional clients do that at scale. And I think abroad, it is making that pivot from defined benefits plans to private investment, something that we in the US had to go through 40 years ago. The rest of the world is going through right now. And I think we are at this critical moment where we can help societies make that transition.
As we make that transition, and going back to the idea of risk here, you have people at the lower end of the wealth spectrum who now feel that they want to be sort of part of these capital markets in a way that, I guess in the past, we would have said would have been too risky for them.
Yeah, I think this fairness of capital markets is going to be one of the core generational moments that we're in right now. And it's about data, it's about transparency, who gets a right to what. And I think those questions are still at a really early stage of being answered. But what's great is that for the first time, I feel like people are actually taking real interest in solving it.